there then becomes the comparison, and Trump, one of his expertise has been on television. He's run for the office before. He's able to respond, as you suggested, in the moment, and those are some of the advantages that he has that DeSantis does not have.
Dr. Bergerson also made this very important point. We are still early on in the process. Most people think Ron DeSantis will eventually enter this race. And when he does, Dr. Bergerson says he will likely have his own list of people who are endorsing him. He also says once the debates begin later this summer, that's when we will really see these two Florida candidates and presumed frontrunners go after each other. Now, speaking of the debates, this morning we know that one of the GOP debates, the second one, where it will happen. Ronna McDaniels, the head of the National Republican Committee, said that yesterday she made this announcement, and she said the second debate will take place at the Ronald Reagan Library in California.
If we're going to be successful in 2024, yes, we're going to need independents, but we're going to need all of us. We have to be united. If we're shouting at each other and being vitriolic at each other and pushing each other away, we're doing only what the Democrats want, and nobody will hear what we stand for. We're about to go through a bruising primary, guys, probably. We're about to have some rough and tumble times. But we have to come together as a Republican family, despite our differences. And that's the only way we can defeat the destruction and devastation that Joe Biden is unleashing on the country.
And also new this morning, it looks like we know one of the people who could be on that stage in California. Another person has entered the race to become the Republican nominee for president. Larry Elder announced that he is running yesterday. Elder's known for his radio show, The Larry Elder Show, which he began hosting back in 1993. But this is not his first go at politics. He was the top Republican opponent in an unsuccessful bid to replace California Governor Gavin Newsom back in 2021. Also this morning, we have a better idea of when President Joe Biden could announce whether he is going to run next year as well. So the Associated Press and CNN reports that Biden is expected to make an announcement soon. They say that his advisors are putting together a video announcement that will coincide with the anniversary of his 2019 campaign announcement. Biden officially announced that he was running for 2020 when he made his announcement on August 25th, 2019. So all eyes, politically speaking, in Florida are on Fort Myers right now and what will happen here at the Colusa Sound Convention Center a little later this evening. But it's just not political pundits and people in the political know who are watching what happens here. We're expecting many more people to come downtown Fort Myers tonight who are not going to this event. It's going to be a busy night, and that's going to create traffic problems. We'll talk about that part of the story a little later on Fox 4 Morning News. For now, we are live in downtown Fort Myers. Chris Shaw, Fox 4 News.
Great coverage, Chris. Thank you. The Republican-led House has passed legislation banning transgender athletes from competing on girls' and women's sports teams at federally funded schools. Now, Republicans say this bill promotes fairness, but the White House calls it discriminatory. The bill is not expected to pass the Democrat-led Senate, and President Biden says he would veto it. Lawmakers want to know more about the Supreme Court's ethical rules after recent reports raised some questions about Justice Clarence Thomas's business dealings. The Senate Judiciary Committee wants Chief Justice John Roberts to testify at a hearing next month. This would focus on the court's ethical standards and potential changes to those guidelines. The Biden administration is getting ready to announce some new plans for the southern border. The Department of Homeland Security will explain how it plans to deal with an anticipated surge of migrants. The White House will end pandemic-related restrictions on May 11th, and officials say illegal border crossings could double to more than 10,000 a day. This morning, TSA says officers seized more than 1,500 guns at airport security checkpoints from January through March. That's a 10% increase compared to the same time last year. The agency also says more than 93% of the guns recovered this year were loaded. Actor Alec Baldwin is no longer facing charges in the 2021 shooting death of a cinematographer on set of the movie Rust. Caroline Shively explains why that decision, I should say, was made.
Prosecutors in New Mexico are dropping involuntary manslaughter charges against actor Alec Baldwin in the shooting of a cinematographer on the set of the movie Rust. The news comes on the same day Baldwin and the crew resumed filming the Western in a different state. On Thursday, his lawyers said they're pleased with the decision and encourage a proper investigation into the facts and circumstances of this tragic accident. In 2021, Baldwin pointed what he thought was a gun loaded with blanks on the set, but a live round came out, killing Helena Hutchins and wounding director Joel Souza, who was struck by the bullet that passed through Hutchins.
All the rounds that are in there were either dummy rounds, no flash, cold rounds, or rounds with a flash. In the rehearsal, there should have been nothing. It should have been a cold gun with no rounds inside or dummy rounds, cosmetic rounds, no flash. I take the gun out slowly, I cock the pistol, bang, it goes over. She hits the ground. She goes down.
Baldwin, who is also a producer on the film, says he has no idea how live ammunition got in the Colt .45 pistol and claims it discharged without him pulling the trigger.
We've done this for 2 weeks and we did it the right way every day.
An assistant director pleaded guilty to negligent use of a deadly weapon in the case. The film's armorer has pled not guilty to manslaughter. In October, Baldwin settled a lawsuit filed by Hutchins' husband. In the deal, Matt Hutchins was made an executive producer on the movie, which is now filming in Montana. Caroline Shively, Fox News.
All right, time right now is 6:42. Take a look at the bottom of your screen there. That is the countdown to Disney resuming sales of its annual passes. So the company paused sales on those last night. If you are already waiting, you're still in the queue as long as you're still connected to your internet, your browser is open. This is the first time since 2021 that those popular passes are on sale.
And if you're looking to get outside this weekend, well, we're looking at still those moderate to high pollen levels, especially oak, bayberry, and yes, the grass pollen is back. I'll break down your weekend forecast coming up.
Not exactly a total eclipse of the heart, but still really rare to see what you're seeing here. We will give you a closer look when we come back.
No matter how you've been hurt, in a car accident, on the job, or from a medical mistake, it doesn't matter. Life goes on. How that life goes on is where we come in, Farah and Farah.
6:46 is the time. A tiny Australian town became ground zero for stargazers looking to catch a glimpse of an ultra-rare total eclipse. Don't worry, it wasn't visible for us, but Jeremy Roth is going to give you a special look at this amazing sight this morning.
Take a look at a very rare type of solar eclipse because it could be one of your last chances for more than a century. The event, called a hybrid solar eclipse, was the first of its kind in nearly 10 years. The sun, earth, and moon aligned to awe-inspiring effect, allowing a select few in select places to witness a total eclipse. One of those places was the tiny town of Exmouth, Australia, which saw its population of 3,000 balloon to an estimated 20,000 as lunar looky-loos from all over came to catch a glimpse. The interstellar stunner didn't disappoint, and although one more hybrid eclipse is expected in 2031, after that, experts say conditions won't cook another one up for more than 100 years. Authorities in Miami almost witnessed a full moon when they took a suspect stripped down to his skivvies into custody, following a crazy multi-county chase. The pursuit was set off by an alleged carjacking and weaved in and out of traffic across multiple counties. At one point, the video shows the armed suspects jack another car that looks exactly like the first one. Kind of defeats the purpose there, Slick. The pair eventually separated, and just when the chase appeared to be over, one of the men stripped down and tried to swim away. He was eventually caught undied. Let's end on a high note, high above Wisconsin, where a teen's ambitious promposal is the talk of the town. Ryan Hazeltine used his dad's tractor to spell out his intentions, then snapped a pic with an aerial drone. His girlfriend Abby said yes, thanks to a romantic bar set very high down on the farm. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
All right, time right now is 6:48. The Florida Department of Health in Lee County has issued red tide health alerts for Bowditch Point Park and Lynn Hall Beach Park on Fort Myers Beach. Officials say water samples from Monday showed high levels of the harmful algae bloom. Of course, it can cause some respiratory irritation in people and pets. We want to bring in meteorologist Andrew Shipley now to talk about where things stand when it comes to red tide. We were having a bit of a conversation, Andrew, and you were saying compared to, the last couple months, it's really not as bad.
No, it's not. I mean, it's very localized where we do see the red tide. Let me jump right to the maps here, if we can do that, and kind of walk you through where we are seeing red tide right now. So obviously that health alert came out right at Bowditch Point there, but the latest samples I'm seeing is not much going on in the southern side of Estero Island, but we're also seeing very low concentrations off Bonita, basically, at this time, and then closer towards North Captiva, low to very low concentrations, pretty much right up along from about mid-Sanibel all the way up towards North Captiva or so. And then right off the Englewood beaches, we're also seeing a couple spots there as well. Heading south down into Collier County, not much going on towards the Naples beaches, just extreme south there in southern Naples, as well as down in towards Marco Island, but both of these in that very low category. But what we do watch, obviously, when we get some red tide out there is what happens with the winds. As we get towards this afternoon, we do expect those onshore winds later on today, which means places like, let's say, Bowditch Point there, which is still closed and towards the end of next month here. But we do look at a very low concentrations through the morning hours, picking up towards moderate by 2 to 5 o'clock here tonight. So obviously, we'll be watching that. Speaking of the beaches, though, we do see that Gulf temperature there, 78 degrees. Let me walk you through the beach forecast for today. Boca Grande, Captiva, both in the lower 80s. We're seeing that as well on Sanibel, 82 degrees for you. Fort Myers Beach, a little bit warmer, 89 today, as well as you get down towards Naples, Marco Island, low to mid 80s. Both beaches seeing plenty of sunshine for you. Let's take a look at those temperatures as a whole. You get inland, 89 degrees in downtown Fort Myers, as well as in Punta Gorda. How about 96 in Immokalee, 92 in LaBelle. We're also expecting a few spot showers inland here tonight. We'll talk about that in a second. As for tonight, looking at 69 degrees, though, as a whole, mostly clear skies. Let me walk you through the day, though, as we're looking at, again, plenty of sunshine here this morning. We see that well into the noontime hour. A few more clouds as we get roll into the 3 o'clock as the sea breeze gets going. We could see a few pips and pops there, but not expecting a whole lot in terms of rain at all for you today. Again, we still have a lot of dry air out there, which is a big factor in this relative humidity. Fort Myers, for example, 33%. Obviously, when we watch lower humidity, we watch our fire danger for you. Lee County, DeSoto, Sarasota, all in moderate danger today. Rest of us in low. That's because we've seen so much rain, especially Glades, Henry, and Collier, still in that called drying out range here, but looking a lot better than we were. Also still very dry in Sarasota, DeSoto, and Lee County and Charlotte County there. Again, that's why we do have that little bit higher danger there today. But so we need some more rain. Obviously, we're looking pretty good here. Fort Myers, about 1.5 inches here so far for the month, but still down in places like Naples. So we still do need some additional rainfall. Looks like not going to see that through the weekend, which is obviously good news if you have weekend plans. But we are watching the better chances of rain, especially rolling in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, upwards of about 50-60% there Tuesday and Wednesday.
We plant seeds to get trees, but in the future, could we plant seeds to get clouds? We're taking a look after the break. If you plant a seed in the ground, odds are it'll grow under the right conditions. But what about seeding clouds to generate water? Fox's Gary Baumgarten takes a closer look at the operations underway out west and how this unique technique could help boost water levels in extremely dry areas.
Years of persistent drought across large portions of the country causing scientists in the Rocky Mountains to use a technique called cloud seeding to raise critically low water levels.
Cloud seeding is a process that injects silver iodide particles into clouds that are not producing ice very well on their own. We can insert the silver iodide through aircraft flying in the clouds or from ground-based generators that release a smoke plume that flows up into the clouds over the mountains. And once the silver iodide gets into the cloud, it forms ice, and then that ice can readily grow into snow.
Over time, the new powder adds to the existing snowpack, which melts and flows into surrounding waterways like the Colorado River. According to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, roughly 40 million Americans across 7 states rely on water from the Colorado River and its tributaries for drinking, farming, and recreation.
It's not like we're building a reservoir for one particular water use or one group of water users. It impacts everybody.
But while researchers say cloud seeding is a safe and proven way to raise water levels, it's not always a guarantee.
You can't cloud seed if there aren't winter storms that aren't coming through. So if it's really, really dry, you're not going to get more water from the non-existent storms, essentially.
Meantime, scientists are using new computer systems to better predict the benefits of future cloud seeding operations. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Well, coming up on Fox 4 Morning News, team coverage of President Trump's visit here to Fort Myers. We have live coverage. We will take you to where he's visiting and how it might impact your commute coming up.
Right now on Fox 4 Morning News at 7, former President Donald Trump will be here in downtown Fort Myers today, and with him, traffic and political controversy.
Plus, we've seen a lot of progress since Hurricane Ian, but the city of Cape Coral is asking for your patience while crews work to fix traffic lights and stop signs. And simulating a storm, we take you through Florida Power and Light's new technology for tracking a storm and keeping Southwest Florida connected.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 Morning News.
Good morning. Thank you so much for watching Fox 4 Morning News at 7. I'm Lisa Greenberg. Today, former President Donald Trump is headed here to Southwest Florida. You saw our very own Chris Shaw out there live. We will get a preview from him in just a minute of what exactly to expect. First, though, we do want to get you a check of the forecast as you get ready to head out the door this morning. So let's bring in meteorologist Andrew Shipley. Off to a bit of a humid start today, Andrew.
Yeah, a little humidity out there today. We do expect that to pick up a little bit as we get in towards tomorrow ahead of a weak frontal boundary moving in. But otherwise than that, we are seeing relatively clear skies here this morning. As for temperatures, 70 degrees right now, Cape Coral, 69 in Naples. How about 64 Punta Gorda? You get inland, 66 LaBelle, as well as out in Moorhaven, Lewiston here this morning. As for humidity, we still see that in the tolerable range, a little bit up from where we were just the other day, but we do expect to kind of hang out there for you this afternoon. As for getting your kids out the door this morning, still expecting sunshine. Again, mid-60s this morning, getting up into the upper 80s later this afternoon. Could see a little pips and pops in terms of showers and storms inland later on this afternoon. I'll time that out for you coming up in just my full forecast.
Sounds good, Andrew. We will see you shortly. Well, the political world will be watching Fort Myers tonight. Former President Donald Trump will speak at a Lee County Republican Party fundraiser, and that will make an already busy night downtown even more crowded. Fox 4 anchor Chris Shaw starts our team coverage on his visit. He is live in Fort Myers, where there are already signs the former president will be there.
Yeah, Lisa, as you know, anytime a former president comes to town, it's always a big deal. We will see a lot of extra security. We could see road closures. In fact, Edwards Drive, which is the street that goes between the Luminary Hotel and the river, is already closed this morning, and it looks like the city is going to make some more closures soon. With this former president, we also expect big crowds. However, most of those folks are not going to be able to get into the Calusa Sound Convention Center. That's where the event is tonight. Because this event is private, you have to have a ticket, and all those tickets are sold out. Now, Mr. Trump's visit is going to bring a little bit of political differences to our area. He is the front runner to get his party's nomination for president next year, and we'll talk about that as the morning goes on. But the bottom line for this event tonight, it is a huge moneymaker for the Lee County Republican Party. Mr. Trump, of course, will be the keynote speaker at the Lincoln Reagan dinner, and Southwest Florida Congressman Byron Donalds and Greg Steube will also speak. But so will longtime Trump advisor Roger Stone and former National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn. So this dinner will have a decidedly MAGA feel. FGCU professor Dr. Peter Bergerson told Fox 4 Investigates Ryan Kruger it's events like this where the former president really sets himself apart from other candidates.
He's skillful at public relations and the orator, and carries the day.
Important member of the Republican Party in Florida we will likely not see tonight is Governor Ron DeSantis. There's an interesting political dynamic shaping up here because most people expect him to announce soon that he, like Trump, will run for president. We'll get into that part of the story in about 30 minutes. And this will likely be talked about tonight as well. Yesterday, the House passed Congressman Greg Steube's bill that would ban transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. Now, he said it was a win for equality and fairness in women's sports, but the Senate is not even expected to take up that bill. So tonight's event will get started with the VIP meet and greet at 5, and then at 6, the dinner will begin. In addition to all those people who will come here to the convention center, we also expect a lot of the former president's supporters to be here as well. There's a ton of other events going on as well tonight. It's a Friday night in downtown Fort Myers. So let's bring in Fox 4's Alexandra Rangel to continue our team coverage. And there's a lot going on. We expect a lot of people to be filling these streets.
Huge crowds expected. There's limited parking in the area. And we all know on, any normal day in downtown Fort Myers, parking is challenging enough. Throw in a sold out event like this one and you can expect traffic jams. There will be roadblocks like Chris mentioned. Part of Edwards Drive right in front of the Luminary Hotel will be closed off to the public except for people going into the hotel. Now, the dinner will be at the Luminary's Calusa Sound Convention Center. That's where former President Donald Trump will be speaking. His visit is expected to draw protesters and supporters. Plus, downtown will be buzzing with hundreds of people that will be here for the Downtown Art Walk. With a busy night like this one, we spoke with Fort Myers police about their plans to beef up security.
So you will see an influx in manpower as we normally do with special events downtown. You have the Edison Awards, you have Music Walk, and then we do have former President Trump in town. So there will be an increase in manpower.
And the advice from police, if you are coming to downtown, come early so you can find that parking. Again, this is a sold out event and security in the area will be increased.
Absolutely. Probably worth putting into perspective as well, Alexandra. We saw the former president when he was running for president in 2016 speak at Hertz Arena. We saw him again in 2018 when he came to stump for the midterm elections. Huge crowds at the arena, almost like a college football tailgate party there. We're not expecting that kind of crowd here tonight, but it will be busy. And with everything else going on, there will be traffic problems. So let's continue our team coverage by bringing in Andrew Shipley, who is in the Fox 4 studio right now to talk about which roads we could see some problems on.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And really a lot of those roads going into downtown. Looking at 41, if you're heading that direction, obviously could be seeing some issues there as well. But here this morning, we're just seeing that general congestion that we typically see in the downtown area. Places also like looking at Midpoint Bridge heading into Fort Myers from Cape Coral. There's that general congestion that we typically see. But we are also tracking several accidents here this morning. I do want to go through these here for you. Lane blocked due to a crash there up along Michael Rip Parkway right at Bear Cliff Road. Also continuing to watch on your Whitting Corner, 2 mile backup coming off 82 in towards Lee County because of an accident there. Also up along Immokalee Road right near the bend there. You can see that backup all the way up into Orange Tree heading off to the west. Down in Naples area, Santa Barbara Boulevard. Also see that backup right near 75 right at the bend. And speaking of 75 on Alligator Alley, we are seeing a lane block there on near Everglades Boulevard. This is the southbound side of Alligator Alley for you at this time. Obviously, we continue to follow these crashes for you and your morning commute coming up.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Time right now is 7:07. Want to talk about traffic and keeping an eye on that when it comes to recovering from Hurricane Ian. Traffic has become a challenge in some parts of Southwest Florida after the storm, and the city of Cape Coral says the problem could get worse before it gets better. The city's working to fix stop signs and traffic lights. They say crews are making progress in reinstalling 8,000 stop signs. They're asking for your patience, though, as they continue those repairs. The woman accused of driving drunk and killing a Charlotte County deputy on I-75 will be in court today. A judge will decide if Cassandra Smith is competent to stand trial, and that includes whether she understands the charges she faces in the death of Deputy Christopher Taylor. Those charges include vehicular homicide. The 23-year-old deputy was doing a traffic stop on another car in November when prosecutors say Smith was driving drunk, hit that car, which then hit and killed Deputy Taylor. Taylor had recently graduated from the Southwest Florida Public Service Academy just 9 months before. Developing this morning, the company in charge of sending out emergency alerts all across the state no longer has a contract. The company was fired after yesterday's early morning phone alert. Yeah, the one that woke you up. Take a look at your screen. This may look familiar to you. If your alarm went off before 5 a.m. yesterday, certainly not alone. A lot of people were talking about this. But the Florida Division of Emergency Management says that test, it was supposed to be televised, not sent to your phones. The state says says the Everbridge company sent the wrong instructions, and this morning, Everbridge no longer has a contract with Florida. Now, some state leaders say this alert system should do tests later in the morning moving forward.
The amendment would be called the Stop Wake Act. Don't wake me up at 4:45 in the morning if we don't have to. I don't think the person should be fired, but I think there should be a realization that that they should take a greater care to ensure this doesn't happen again.
Now, the senator said this amendment could be passed this year. A massive test of new hurricane response equipment has just finished on Florida's East Coast. That new tech is touted by FPL as more efficient and effective tools to get power back online. Jay Kashmir from our script station WPTV in West Palm Beach is showing us that tech in action.
Hurricane Ian last September making landfall and in the process battering southwest Florida. Today, the cleanup continues physically and emotionally for thousands of Floridians.
And this is the nerve center of our hurricane response.
FPL, the nation's largest energy utility, never takes a day off when it comes to hurricane response. And this week, they're ramping up efforts with a simulated storm. The command center is activated with communication and logistics, and new tools are on display.
This equipment really helps us get eyes on our overhead equipment much safer and faster than traditional methods. We're able to see what the conditions are out in the field, and a lot of times before we can even get crew members out there.
Our Mike Halsey's clear.
FPL's Drone in a Box is a new $250,000 highly automated drone system that can pre-deploy anywhere in the state before a storm and then remotely operate in the aftermath. A new mobile command center takes logistics on the road. And speaking of the road, Florida is the second largest state for electric vehicle adoption. This new EV charging trailer will take power to places when Mother Nature cuts it off.
It can provide 4,000 miles of fast charging for our customers and charge 6 EVs at a time.
Agencies from FHP to Miami-Dade Fire Rescue are working under similar conditions as if a real threat were on us. It's not just how FPL responds to scenarios, but how fast. All down to calculating the estimated time of restoration, which is the holy grail around here.
In Florida, it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when a storm will strike. So nobody in Florida can get complacent, especially because we have so many new Floridians. Floridians need to be preparing just like we're preparing today.
And the city of Sanibel has proposed some changes to try to help people after a storm like Hurricane Ian. So the first is called a below market rate housing rental program. This would allow people who are displaced because of a natural disaster like Ian to move into rental units while their homes are repaired. It's specifically for people living in rental units that are classified as affordable housing. The second proposal would allow for more mixed use housing to be built across the island. The proposal would eliminate current codes which discourage mixed use projects. The ordinance would allow for new workforce or affordable housing options on Sanibel. Both of these proposals still have to be talked about further in upcoming meetings, but we will let you know what happens. Cultural Park in Cape Coral will reopen today. The park has some new pavilions, walking paths. They also just put in some brand new trees here to make up for the ones that were knocked down in Hurricane Ian. The renovation was part of a massive boost in funding from the city of Cape Coral to improve its parks and recreation services.
And you're looking to get on the boat this weekend, both Saturday, Sunday, looking relatively good. You can see a few pop-up showers there on Saturday. Or break down your full weekend forecast. That coming up.
I'm John Matteries. How would you like to live in an upscale home or apartment like this at a very low price? Well, there's just one little catch. I'll explain coming up.
And Governor DeSantis made a promise and he delivered. Now only 8 of 12 jurors need to agree to hand down the death penalty. Coming up, how this new rule will affect Florida prisons.
No matter how you've been hurt, in a car accident, on the job, or from a medical mistake, it doesn't matter. Life goes on. How that life goes on is where we come in. Farah and Farah.
Time right now is 7:16. Here are some of the top stories we're following. A 24-year-old man will be in court today. He is accused of shooting a 6-year-old neighbor and her parents after a basketball rolled into his yard. The child was grazed by a bullet but is expected to be okay. Her father's in the hospital with serious injuries, though. This incident is the latest in a string of recent shootings that seem to be sparked by a mistake. Actor Alec Baldwin is celebrating a legal win this morning. New Mexico prosecutors have dropped charges against him in the deadly shooting of a crew member on the set of the movie Rust. Prosecutors say new facts were revealed that need further investigation. They say Baldwin is not absolved from any wrongdoing and charges still may be filed. Well, we know how paying rent eats away at a lot of people's budgets. Plus, you get tied to your lease for a year or more. Well, consumer reporter John Matarese is looking at a new trend in the rental market that could help you save so you don't waste your money.
Renting a quality home or apartment these days is not cheap, especially if you want to live near a city. But one new model is giving people access to affordable and very upscale living spaces like this, if you're willing to bounce from place to place.
Imagine living in a luxury apartment like this in nearly any city you could dream of.
Tell us where you've lived with Landing.
Yeah, so I've lived in Chicago with Landing, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and now St. Petersburg.
Katie Landmark is a marketing manager taking advantage of a new membership option from the company Landing. It's called Standby.
When you check in, you'll have your plates, your bowls.
Jeremiah Montgomery showed me one of the thousands of apartments they now offer, all of them ready to live in.
So not only do we provide furniture, but we also provide cooking utensils and eatery as well.
For $12.95 per month, a Standby membership gets you into a fully furnished living space within Landing's network, outside of California or New York. There's one catch. Standby members are on standby, ready to move with a minimum of 3 days' notice. For Katie, who works fully remote, that's one of the perks.
Experiencing new cities is what I wanted to do.
Landing CEO and co-founder Bill Smith says inflation has customers seeking out the best deals possible.
People are really paying attention to the cost of living right now.
According to Realtor.com, the median monthly rent is more than $1,700 nationwide, about $400 more than a standby membership.
That's covering your rent, your utilities, your Wi-Fi. You don't have to pay for any of that stuff.
As long as you accept the trade-off.
How long will you be in this apartment?
You know, I could be here another week. I could be here a month.
So if you're interested in Landing's Standby program, just be prepared to scroll through new places to live. And that way you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese.
Here's a live look outside across the Caloosahatchee here this morning, and you see relatively clear skies. We're going to get to weather really in a second here. I do want to just give you a quick traffic alert here for you. You can see much of the lanes heading towards the Miami area up along Alligator Alley are shut down now. That's due to a crash that we are continuing to watch at this time. Obviously, we get more details on that. We will get those to you. As for sky conditions, well, you notice plenty of clear skies out there. A lot of dry air still in place here this morning, but you notice all of this is a lot more moisture in the air. It's slowly creeping back towards us, which means we're going to see the humidity start to creep back up over the next couple of days here. But we do see this morning relatively clear conditions there for you. Just a little bit of clutter there on the radar. But other than that, temperature-wise, looking at 68 degrees Fort Myers, 64 Punta Gorda, 69 Naples. You get inland 66 in LaBelle. Immokalee, about 67 at this time. Over the next couple hours, though, I do expect warming temperatures up into about 81 there by 11 o'clock. By 1 o'clock, 86 degrees. Again, a lot of sunshine out there for you today. Could see a few spot showers inland, but very quick passing very quickly here. 96 in Immokalee. How about 86 in Amarco Island? Cape Coral, 89 at Arcadia. 90 degrees for you this afternoon. As for tonight, though, mostly clear skies. Getting down to 69 degrees for you. Winds at the north at 10 miles an hour. Let's walk you through the day here, though. Again, plenty of sunshine through the morning hours. You get into this afternoon, could see a few more clouds out there as the sea breeze gets going. And with that, watch inland. You can see a few pips and pops there, but nothing significant in terms of any rainfall, because we still have, again, a lot of dry air out there. Relative humidity is down in the 20s and 30% here, which usually typically when we watch our fire danger, but we are seeing still a lot of moisture in the soil soil, especially inland where we've seen a lot of rain lately. Though closer to the coastline, say Lee County, DeSoto, Sarasota County, still watching in that moderate fire danger. That's because those are still the driest areas, still in that very dry category for our soil moisture, while we are looking a lot better for you there inland. And we need some rain still, especially down in Naples. That's still about 1.25 inches below normal for the month, obviously. When are we going to get that rain? Looks like next week. Looks like it should be relatively dry through the weekend if you got weekend plans here, though warm. 90 degrees there Sunday. Check out next week, though, as they start to bring those scattered storm chances back in Monday, right around 40%. That jumps up to 50, 60% there Tuesday and Wednesday.
Thank you, Andrew. Still to come here, water quality has been a big concern here in Southwest Florida since the hurricane. We'll tell you what researchers at Florida Gulf Coast University are seeing or not seeing in our water. Time right now is 7:25. Since Hurricane Ian, water quality really has been top of mind for a lot of us here in Southwest Florida. Researchers with the water school at FGCU have been out on the water collecting data on the storm's impact. Dr. Michael Parsons with the water school says as of now, their studies are not revealing terrible water quality in Estero Bay and offshore. But he says it's been a very challenging winter and spring. We've seen a lot of fish kills and red tide blooms. He says the school is watching to see if it's connected to Hurricane Ian.
Typically it shows up in October, so maybe it was coincidence, but then it got bad and worse and worse. In February it was pretty strong, pretty intense, so everyone was worried it was going to be another Irma type situation. Started fading in March. It's fading even more here in April, so is it going to go away? This is when it usually goes away.
Lee County Commissioner Brian Hammond says owners of businesses like resorts and restaurants are keeping their eyes on the water situation after Ian.
A lot of businesses count on tourism to help support their businesses. And I think the other thing that businesses care about related to the water school specifically at FGCU is they care about making sure that we have a workforce that wants to stay here and work here.
Now, Dr. Parsons says Southwest Florida is a focal point to study water right now, given the issues on Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel, but also any blue-green algae blooms from the Caloosahatchee River.
Lisa, former President Donald Trump will be right here in downtown Fort Myers later today. And this morning, we're going to hear from some Republicans who say a Trump-DeSantis battle is exactly what they want to see.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 Morning News.
And you take a live look across the Caloosahatchee here this morning. Relatively clear skies. Nice start to your Friday for you. Again, still got plenty of dry air in place here this morning, especially aloft. But check out the latest radar imagery. Not a whole lot going on. Got some little ground color out there, but that's about it. Nothing to worry about there. But in terms of temperatures, heating up. Already 70 degrees Cape Coral, 65 Port Charlotte, 69 Naples, 67 in Immokalee, as well as Moorhaven, Palmdale at 65 degrees here this morning. Also seeing humidity up a smidge today, looking at mid 60s in terms of those dew points. Still in the tolerable range, though we could see that sneak up to humid as we get in towards tomorrow. But as for temperatures, climbing up to about 89 degrees this afternoon. It's above normal. It's still expected plenty of sunshine. As for your commute, watching particularly Alligator Alley, you can see all lanes are closed heading towards the Miami area. We do have a live look at that, and you can see that road closure there. Obviously, a lot of emergency vehicles. We did just watch a life flight helicopter land in that area, so obviously we'll be continuing to follow that. As for other accidents, I'm watching for you up along Santa Barbara Boulevard there in Collier County at Painted Leaf Lane, watching a crash right there at the bend of 75. Also watching two crashes there, new one just north of Orange Tree and Immokalee Road there. So right at the bend there near Orange Tree on Immokalee Road, watch for some congestion there. As for Immokalee itself, also looking at an accident there on First Street near Orange at this time. As for downtown, we're continuing to watch the downtown area. Obviously, expect a lot of congestion today with President Trump visiting, as well as the Arts and Music Walk there this afternoon. We'll keep an eye on traffic for you as the morning progresses.
Sounds good, Andrew. Thank you. Speaking of, former President Donald Trump is going to be in downtown Fort Myers tonight. He will be the keynote speaker for this year's Lincoln-Reagan dinner, and that will create an interesting political dynamic. Fox 4 anchor Chris Shaw is live downtown, where there are already signs the former president will be there.
Yeah, Lisa, it is after 7:30 here in downtown Fort Myers, so people are starting to fill up the office buildings. And if you look over my shoulder here, you can see the amphitheater here. Workers are busy right now. They are setting up the stage. They are also setting chairs out in front of the amphitheater. That street that goes between the convention center and the river, Edwards Drive, is closed right now to traffic. And if you come back over here, the street where we are right out in front of the convention center, Monroe Street, there are barriers that the city is getting ready to put out. So the former President Trump will be here at a dinner here at the Calusa Sound Convention Center a little later this evening. This is a big-time fundraiser for the Lee County Republican Party, and this year's event is going to spotlight what is a growing rift between the former president and the governor. Now, most people expect Ron DeSantis to announce that he is running for president at some point after the legislative session ends next month. He's been traveling to early primary states like Iowa and South Carolina to promote his new book. The people who expect him to run includes Donald Trump, who has attacked the governor on everything from COVID response to DeSantis's battle with Disney. So the question is, where do Southwest Florida Republicans stand? Well, two of the speakers at tonight's event, Congressman Byron Donalds and Greg Steube, have already endorsed Trump for president. We went to FGCU professor Dr. Peter Bergeson to get his analysis.
Trump does see him as a threat, but it also, DeSantis becomes a foil for him to be part of the news cycle. And so there then becomes the comparison. And Trump, you know, one of his expertise has been on television. He's run for the office before. He's able to respond, as you suggested, in the moment. And those are some of the advantages that he has that DeSantis does not have.
And Dr. Bergeson makes one more important point. We're still early on in this process to nominate a president for next fall. So he says when Ron DeSantis does eventually come out and say that he is running, he expects he will have his own long list of endorsements to flout as well. Dr. Bergeson also says once the summer comes and the debates begin, that's when we will see the two Floridians, the front runners in this race right now, really go after each other. And it is a battle that apparently people across the country want to see. Now I want to turn to Fox's Austin Westfall, who is in South Carolina right now, where Governor DeSantis spent the last couple of days.
DeSantis mostly spoke about his work in Florida so far, arguing that much of the work he's done there could also work for the U.S. as a whole. DeSantis has not officially confirmed that he's running for president yet, but many of the people in attendance yesterday say that they're looking forward to seeing him and Trump face off.
I'm undecided personally.
I sway towards Trump, but I think DeSantis is a close second, and I think only time will tell where either one of them stand.
Florida shows that leadership really matters.
This was DeSantis' first public visit to South Carolina ahead of the 2024 election.
I believe if the left's able to run the table in 2024 with these elections, their agenda is going to be a radical agenda.
The governor talked about some of his bigger challenges, like responding to COVID-19, immigration issues, and his feud with Disney in front of a packed South Carolina crowd. South Carolina is important not only because it's an early primary state.
The voters generally reflect those of the Republican voters nationwide.
Since 1980, South Carolina primary voters have correctly chosen the eventual Republican nominee in every election except for 2012, when Newt Gingrich beat Mitt Romney. But South Carolinians will likely see a couple of familiar faces running this time around.
That's how we were able to get illegals out of our state, because they knew they couldn't get a job.
Former ambassador to the UN and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley already declared her run for office. U.S. Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina is another likely candidate.
We want to restore faith in America.
But a home stage advantage is no guarantee. For example, Senator Marco Rubio challenged Donald Trump in Rubio's home state of Florida in the 2016 primary.
And he lost, I believe, every single county except for his own and maybe a few others.
As we talk about this today, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis are also the two kind of front runners in South Carolina.
DeSantis did not mention Trump during his speech last night. The Republican primary for the 2024 presidential election is going to be happening in February of 2024. Here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, Austin Westfall.
All right, Austin, thank you very much for that report from South Carolina. A lot of presidential politics news this morning, because this morning we also have a better idea on when we're going to find out if President Joe Biden is going to run for re-election. Listen to this. His campaign is telling CNN and the Associated Press that they expect to have an announcement in just a few days. His advisors are getting a video ready that would coincide with the anniversary of when he announced he was going to run in 2020. He officially launched that presidential bid on April 25th. That will be Tuesday if he makes a similar announcement this time around. So a lot of political news that some people who are into politics really care about, but there is something everybody here in downtown Fort Myers who is here this evening is going to have to deal with. A number of events, plus the former president being here. We may see a lot of supporters as well. Traffic is going to be an issue with the big crowds. That is a story we are working on for Fox 4 Morning News at 8. We will see you in about 30 minutes. Lisa, back to you.
Sounds good, Chris. Thank you so much for that coverage. Well, the Republican-led House has passed legislation banning transgender athletes from competing on girls' and women's sports teams at federally funded schools. Republicans say this bill promotes fairness, but the White House calls it discriminatory. The bill is not expected to pass the Democrat-led Senate, and President Biden said he would veto it. Florida's death row could start seeing more inmates. Governor Ron DeSantis delivered on a 2023 promise to sign a law that no longer requires unanimous jury consent to recommend the death penalty. Now, only 8 of 12 jurors have to agree. Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders explains what this means for the future of death row.
It was just a handful gathered to watch Governor Ron DeSantis sign SB 450 Thursday morning. Effective immediately, Florida juries will no longer need unanimous consent to offer the death penalty. A supermajority, 8 of 12, will do. Judges could still override, but need to explain why in a written order. In a tweet, DeSantis said, quote, "Once a defendant in a capital case is found guilty by a unanimous jury, one juror should not be able to veto a capital sentence."
How do you wish to plead?
Guilty. The change comes after the Parkland shooter was spared the death penalty last year. It fueled frustration at the Capitol, prompting the reform.
It's unfortunate that this case highlighted this flaw in our law, but now was the time for us to get it right so other families do not suffer in this way.
Speaking of families, those who experienced Parkland said Thursday's signing was bittersweet.
Of course, it's a double-edged sword. Our families were denied the justice that my daughter Gina, her 13 schoolmates, and her 3 teachers deserved.
Tony Montalto among them, now hopeful future victims won't have to endure his heartbreak and frustration.
It's about providing the victims an opportunity for justice. Gina, her classmates, and her teachers, they deserve that.
Critics have pointed out that Florida is a national leader in death row exonerations, prompting some lawmakers to push back on the change as lowering an important hurdle.
The threshold to convict someone is unanimous, and that's just at a conviction level.
Rep. Michelle Rayner Goolsby, a defense attorney, among them.
And when we're thinking about taking someone's life, no matter how egregious the crime that they may have been charged with and convicted with, you would think that that threshold needs to be just as high.
Republicans, however, had the votes needed to make the bill a reality earlier this month, even grabbing a few Democrats, sealing the policy's fate in the legislature and opening the door for DeSantis to make it Florida's latest law. At the Capitol, I'm Forrest Saunders, Fox 4.
And the Biden administration is getting ready to announce some new plans for the southern border. The Department of Homeland Security will explain how it plans to deal with an anticipated surge of migrants, more than 10,000 a day. Fox's Casey Stiegel is in El Paso to show us the growing concerns.
Close to 1,500. Border Patrol says that's how many migrant apprehensions they've been averaging every day as of late here in the El Paso sector.
These are the mistakes, a broken system, very broken system that's creating a lot of pressure and putting everything on our shoulders.
The judge of El Paso County tells Fox preparations are going on behind the scenes ahead of Title 42 expiring May 11th.
There's anxiety because we know the numbers.
He's talking about a group, at least 35,000 in size, waiting just across the border in Juarez for the public health measure to end. Although DHS insists migrants who don't schedule an appointment and cross at a legal port of entry will be turned around. Local communities aren't taking any chances, though.
We have to logistically get them quicker out of El Paso.
At least one shelter here is 130% over capacity.
It's not going to stop.
That is where NGOs like St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church come in to assist those who've been released by CBP. This week in El Paso, it's been more than 300 migrants a day.
Clearly, we can't accept everybody.
Father Precourt says they're doing what they can, but it's not sustainable.
Everybody's afraid to sit down and make some decisions about what we should be doing for immigration.
Until that happens, the challenges and chaos left largely to individual communities.
I could open 7 more shelters through the diocese, but who's going to man those?
Migrant encounters here in El Paso are up 134% compared to the same period of time last year. That, according to newly released data from CBP this week. In El Paso, Casey Stiegel, Fox News.
Well, we plant seeds to get trees, but in the future, could we plant seeds to get clouds? We're taking a look coming up here after the break.
No matter how you've been hurt, in a car accident, on the job, or from a medical mistake, it doesn't matter. Life goes on. How that life goes on is where we come in, Farah and Farah.
7:47 is the time. Here's a look at some of today's top stories. President Biden is expected to announce his 2024 re-election in the coming days. According to several reports, the president is considering Tuesday, April 25th to make that announcement. That would mark 4 years to the day since he entered the 2020 race. President Biden has hinted at running for another term several times. The clock is ticking for the Supreme Court to decide on access to an abortion pill. Justices are considering a lower court ruling that would restrict its availability until a legal challenge to its approval is resolved. The High Court will gather today for a private meeting and is expected to talk about this issue. They will issue a ruling before midnight. If you plant a seed in the ground, the odds are it'll grow, at least under the right conditions. But what about seeding clouds to generate water? Fox's Gary Baumgarten takes a look at operations underway out west and how this unique technique could help boost water levels in extremely dry areas.
Years of persistent drought across large portions of the country causing scientists in the Rocky Mountains to use a technique called cloud seeding to raise critically low water levels.
Cloud seeding is a process that injects silver iodide particles into clouds that are not producing ice very well on their own. We can insert the silver iodide through aircraft flying in the clouds or from ground-based generators that release a smoke plume that flows up into the clouds over the mountains. And once the silver iodide gets into the cloud, it forms ice, and then that ice can readily grow into snow.
Over time, the new powder adds to the existing snowpack, which melts and flows into surrounding waterways like the Colorado River. According to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, roughly 40 million Americans across 7 states rely on water from the Colorado River and its tributaries for drinking, farming, and recreation.
It's not like we're building a reservoir for one particular water use or one group of water users. It impacts everybody.
But while researchers say cloud seeding is a safe and proven way to raise water levels, it's not always a guarantee.
You can't cloud seed if there aren't winter storms that aren't coming through. So if it's really, really dry, you're not going to get more water from the non-existent storms, essentially.
Meantime, scientists are using new computer systems to better predict the benefits of future cloud seeding operations.
Obviously, it would be very interesting to follow that story as it continues to move there as they get better with the research. But here today, well, here in the Sunshine State, there it is, plenty of it. And to take a look at the sunrise there from the Bayfront Inn down in Naples, and beautiful start to the day. And what you notice is there's not a whole lot of clouds out there in that camera. A lot of that is because we have so much dry air aloft. You see that rust color in our water vapor satellite imagery. But you'll notice, though, a lot of what we'll call the whiter area, that the moisture in the atmosphere started to creep back in. We do expect the humidities to pick up because of that today, tomorrow for you ahead of our next frontal boundary. But in terms of today, though, pretty dry air means, not much going on clouds and radar here this morning. As for temperatures, looking at 68 degrees right now, Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, 65, Port Charlotte, 69, Naples. You get inland, 67 there, LaBelle and Immokalee at this hour. Over the next couple hours, though, we do expect temperatures to continue to warm, 81 degrees there by 11 o'clock, getting up into the mid to upper 80s as we head into the afternoon hours. And still a lot of sunshine expected through the day, especially closer towards the coastline for you as temperatures climb into the upper 80s. Some of it's going to be flirting with some 90s there. Say Arcadia there, 90 degrees, though. Immokalee, I am expecting a warm day, 96 degrees there, 92 in LaBelle, 90 out in Moorhaven for you. As for tonight, though, partly cloudy skies, 69 degrees for that overnight low temperature. Let's walk you through the day, though, as we do expect through the morning hours, plenty of sunshine is expected out there. But as you get in towards this afternoon, we are expecting a few little pop-up showers possible down into Collier County, and most of that's going to be staying relatively inland, though we do expect as we get in towards the evening hours, we could see some additional development out towards LaBelle, Immokalee, closer towards Calusa, and should stay relatively dry up along our coastal communities as we get in towards this evening for you. But overall today, we do expect still a lot of sunshine out there, despite a few pips and pops, as relative humidity down into the 30s this afternoon. For example, 33% 90% humidity at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And when you get humidity that low, usually watch for fire danger. But we've had so much rain over the last couple week or so here. Inland looking really good. Low fire danger today. Still looking at closer to Lee County, DeSoto, Sarasota County for you. Even some parts of Charlotte County for a little bit higher because that's where we're seeing that very dry conditions still. But obviously we need some more rain across a large portion of area. We're knocking it out a little bit here. Looking on the positive side here, Fort Myers still needs some down in Naples, about 1.25 inches here. But we're going to get some more rain in the extended forecast, especially as we get into towards Monday, Tuesday, and beyond as we work into the next work week here. Better chances there of rain going to be coming in on Tuesday, Wednesday, as we get about 50-60% chance of rain towards the middle of the week.
Okay, this is a perfect way to kick off the weekend. Beautiful, clear skies from our camera at Tarpon Lodge. Water looks just about perfect. Definitely a little envious of the person out there on the water right now. If you are thinking of having a boat day today, we're going to bring in meteorologist Andrew Shipley here in just a bit to talk about weather for the weekend. Well, Earth Day is tomorrow, but one Southwest Florida community is already celebrating. So coming up on Fox 4 Morning News at 8, we are going to take you there for a festival for Earth Day that's getting underway.
Right now on Fox 4 Morning News at 8, more streets in downtown Fort Myers just closed down. This morning we have team coverage of the former President Donald Trump's visit to Fort Myers, how that's going to impact traffic and the race for president.
And we're keeping an eye on the weather. What does this weekend have in store, and when can we see rain chances return? I'll break it down coming up.
Plus, the new tool Florida Power and Light is using to get ready for the next hurricane season. We'll tell you how it's helping them to stay ahead.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 Morning News.
And good morning. Thanks for joining us for Fox 4 Morning News at 8 today. I'm Amy Wegman.
And I'm Lisa Greenberg. We want to start this hour off with a check of the forecast with certified meteorologist Andrew Shipley. And Andrew, we spent a lot of time talking earlier this morning about how humid it was. Did you notice the increase in humidity?
I definitely did, but you know what? I'll take it because it's not as bad as it's going to be as we get into the summer months, right?
No, absolutely not. And it's just a smidge that we saw it come up a little bit. We've been so dry the last couple of days. That's why we noticed it, that change here this morning. But still, though, we got a lot of dry air up in the upper atmosphere. So it means we're not seeing a lot of clouds development here this morning. We don't expect much of that until later this afternoon. But in terms of temperature, 66 degrees right now, Punta Gorda, 71 Naples. There just the new updates just came at 70 Golden Gate, 68 Immokalee, 66 Palmdale for you at this hour. As for the Monkey Meter, though, dew point still in the mid 60s, so still in that tolerable range, but it's coming up from that comfy range and refreshing range we had the last couple of days. So a little bit higher humidity. Break down what you can expect for the weekend coming up.
All right, Andrew, we will see you soon. Well, the political world will be watching Fort Myers tonight. Former President Donald Trump will speak at a Lee County Republican Party fundraiser, and that will make an already busy night in downtown Fort Myers even more crowded.
Yeah, Fox 4 anchor Chris Shaw starts our team coverage this morning on Donald Trump's visit. So he's live in downtown Fort Myers, where there are already signs that the former president will be there today. Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, Amy, anytime a former president comes to town, it's always a big deal because you'll see a lot of extra security, some road closures. In fact, within the last 15 minutes or so, the city closed down all the roads around the Calusa Sound Convention Center. And with this former president coming to town, we also expect to see big crowds of supporters and maybe some opponents as well. Now, this event here at the Calusa Sound Convention Center is going to get started a little later tonight. It is a big deal for the Lee County Republican Party. It is one of their big fundraisers of the year. And this year there is a lot of political implications because the former president is the front runner to get his party's nomination again for next year. But the bottom line is it is important for Lee County Republicans to raise as much money as they can in an event like this. Mr. Trump will be the keynote speaker here at the Lincoln Reagan dinner. And Southwest Florida Congressman Byron Donalds and Greg Stubbe will also speak. But so will longtime Trump advisor Roger Stone and former National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn. So this dinner will have a decidedly MAGA feel. FGCU professor Dr. Peter Bergerson told Fox 4 Investigates Ryan Kruger it's events like this where the former president really sets himself apart from other candidates.
He's skillful at public relations and the orator, and that carries the day for Trump.
Now, one important member of the Republican Party in Florida we will likely not see tonight is Governor Ron DeSantis. There's an interesting political dynamic shaping up here because most people expect him to announce soon that he, like Trump, will run for president. We'll get into that part of the story in about 30 minutes. Now, this will likely be talked about tonight at this event. Yesterday, the House passed Congressman Stubbe's bill that would ban transgender athletes from competing with women and girls. He said it was a win for fairness and equality in women's sports, but the Senate is not expected to even take the bill up. So this event will get started at 5 this evening. There's a VIP meet and greet. The dinner itself will start at 6. Now, this is Friday night in downtown Fort Myers, so there are a lot of other events going on, too. So I want to bring in Fox 4's Alexandra Rangel to continue our team coverage because there are going to be thousands of people down here clogging up the streets.
Yes, Chris, huge crowds
The half hour. Now we want to bring in Andrew Shipley to talk about the traffic that we're going to see and specifically the streets where we could see some problems a little later on this evening.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Obviously, right there up along the luminary, we are seeing those road closures there. But just think about it. You have the Trump event. You also have the music walk downtown.
Traffic lights. They say crews are making progress in reinstalling 8,000 stop signs, but they are asking for you to be patient as they continue those repairs.
Florida Power and Light is getting ready for the next hurricane season already. The company held its annual storm drill to test their response to a simulated hurricane. Jay Cashmere with our Scripps station WPTV in West Palm Beach is giving us a look at the new tools the company will be using when Floridians need them most.
Hurricane Ian last September
even get crew members out there.
Our Mike Elsby's clear.
FPL's Drone in a Box is a new $250,000 highly automated drone system that can pre-deploy anywhere in the state before.
Well, city leaders on Sanibel have proposed some changes to try and help people after a storm like Ian. So the first idea they have that they're talking about is called a below market rate housing rental program. Basically, this would allow anyone displaced due to a natural
No matter how you've been hurt, in a car accident, on the job, or from a medical mistake, it doesn't matter. Life goes on. How that life goes on is where we come in, Farah and Farah.
It is 8:14 on your Friday morning. Here's a look at some of the top stories we're following today. The Pentagon is moving Alec Baldwin is celebrating a legal win this morning. New Mexico prosecutors have dropped charges against him in the deadly shooting of a crew member on the set of the movie Rust. Prosecutors say new facts were revealed that needed further investigation. Now, they say Baldwin is not absolved from any wrongdoing.
Studying whether the long-term use will ward off cognitive decline. When you think of colorectal cancer, you may typically think of patients in their older years, but doctors say cases of colorectal cancer in younger adults are rising.
Stage 3 colorectal cancer in February of 2022. He was just 37 at the time.
That just turned my world upside down.
Symptoms of ulcerative colitis and colorectal cancer are similar, and Jose's case is unique. But Dr. Pankaj Vashi, who treated Jose,
months of my life, because I've been able to actually, you could say, like, fly.
Now, because more young people are being diagnosed with colorectal cancer, the recommended age for your first colonoscopy is now 45 years. And if you have family history.
Bell Immokalee, 96. Naples, 86 degrees. How about on Sanibel, 83 for you today. Englewood at 86. As for tonight, partly cloudy skies and so looking at those very dry conditions, Lee, Charlotte County, Sarasota, DeSoto County. So we still do need some rain, and we do have some in the forecast as we roll in towards next week. Let me show you that in the 7-day forecast as we